Hi there, my name is Kimberly Inez Mays, and for those who don't know me, I demystify technology for small and medium-sized businesses so that they can stop duct taping their systems together and finally scale with confidence. And I do that through marketing automation and AI. And if you see two little black ears in the frame, this is my cat, Kenzo Lorenzo Catsworth Black. Say hello. Hi, Kenzo. All right, so we're going to talk about a topic that is near and dear to my heart. Well, all topics are near and dear to my heart. Otherwise, I wouldn't be talking about it. But we're going to be talking about agents. And you may be thinking, dang, this is the 8th time today I've heard somebody say agents. You can't scroll on Facebook without seeing agents, 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 agents. And it's the new buzzword. And that's why I titled this Agents, Smagents. Let's stop with the buzzwords and let's talk about solutions. Because at the end of the day, what I find in the tech world is that there is a term and people latch onto it like leeches, and they're just like agents, agents. You have agents, 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 agents. But what's really an agent and what isn't an agent? Because if you're spending a lot of time setting up these agents and you're automating a lot of your chaos, you don't want things to be an agent of chaos, do you? And you know, I did not plan that pun. I am not a pun person, but you know what? The shoe fits. You don't want to create agents of chaos. That's all I got to say about that. But really, it's about dropping the buzzwords. Let's talk about getting real or real solutions, what you can really do with them, and then just real limitations. Because at the end of the day, not all agents can save you, not all agents can help you. And it's about choosing the right type of agentic workflows to run your business. And I talk about automation a lot because I believe that automation is really at the forefront of a lot of business success. Whether you are a solopreneur, you're a coach, speaker, author, whether you run a small business with a team, you know, it's maybe service based, maybe you're a realtor, maybe you're an accountant, bookkeeper. Even if you make physical products, you also need to understand that there are things that you and your team might be doing that can be best delegated to technology. And I talk about a lot about delegating the right things and delegating in an order that makes sense, because you don't want to try to reinvent and build Rome all in a single day, because that is a great way to get some agents of chaos, and that's not what you want to do. What you want to do is start small, and you want to say, what can run with minimal oversight and minimal of me, the human, in the loop? And that's where agents really shine. So if you want to stop flexing that buzzword, for example, think of an agent just like a person, right? What role do you need to hire in order to get the thing done? So once you train them a couple of times, you have the confidence to really now trust that that role is going to do what it needs to do. As with a human, technology is not that much different. You're still going to have some oversight and supervision of the process, but the smaller pieces, you're just going to look for inputs versus outputs, but you're not going to worry about all of the smaller pieces that fall in between getting that process done. And this is where agents really shine, because an agent is really a system that knows what it's trying to do, decides what it's going to do next, takes action, checks results, and learns from it. So it's not just generating stuff. It's not just generating captions or write me an email or doing something that you do with like a one-shot prompt. This is a literal procedure where the AI is now making decisions based on past data or based on the latest outputs or results. So you have to think in terms of, okay, if I was hiring a human to do this, what decisions would I want them to make? What decisions would I want them to run by me? What decisions are actual decisions? Or where can there be deviations from the process? Where does the process need to stop? Where does the process need to continue no matter what? And these are things that you need to diagram and outline in your business. So let's just look at some latest news, because I have a few things that I wanted to talk about. when it comes to agents. So recently, I did a couple of prototypes. I talked about fast prototyping, where I put in what I need it to look like. Maybe I needed to prototype a dashboard, a workflow, an app. I needed to do something very, very quickly that would have taken me a lot of time to do all of those process sequentially. And now through the agentic workflows that I have built out, I can literally say, all right, well, here's what I'm looking for. Here's the data. Here are some of the steps that I needed to follow. And then if this, do this, if this, do this, but then giving it that leeway to make decisions on behalf of the task. And I was able to create all sorts of cool things. And I'll demo some of them specifically a little bit later, but knowing that I am not just getting an output from it, but I'm having it show its work and I'm tweaking it. I'm tweaking that process ever so slightly to get the result that I want, and then I can let it rip every single time. A lot of people make agents through connectors like a Zapier, or I know Make is a big one, but there's so many like connector tools out there. And then you have like all in one, you have the tech stack and the ecosystems. Like you have your Copilot, you got your Anthropic ecosystem, you got your ChatGPT ecosystem, or OpenAI's ecosystem. So it doesn't really matter which ecosystem you invest in, or if you invest in a tool that does and combines and integrates a bunch of things. It's really about just understanding how that process works from start to finish and how you want to apply it to your business, because not everything needs to be agentic. And when I said not everything is coming to save you, there's also chaos in your business that you may not be aware of, right? Let's say that you are producing all this content every single month or every single week, or if you're just creating more work than it's benefit to pay off, and you're now creating agents to do all of these things that don't really move the needle in your business, then you're actually creating chaos, because what tends to happen is the more things you create, the more things you need to monitor. So I say start small. Start with like one or two things that you need to automate, one or two processes that you can delegate, and then really just take a look to see what is the best tool, what is the best platform, what is the best way to go about it, and who to pull in for help. I'm reading here about Sam Altman said AI agents are acting like junior employees, and he's betting that your AI colleague can discover new knowledge. So again, that really backs up and confirms what I said about an agent really being an employee of your business, not just a thing that you buy for $20 a month. You prompt it a little bit, and then the next time you prompt it a little bit again, and that's how most people are using it. No, you have to think of it as almost like I wouldn't say that was like a robot. Robots aren't really taking over yet, but I would say you would treat it like a staff member for sure. I just want to check my notes, just make sure that I am not leaving anything out. Yeah, so you can have GPTs or agents that schedule posts, but you also need to make sure that you are maintaining knowledge, you are automating things that make sense, you are monitoring and measuring along the way. I did talk about that. There are some cool software that I want to just kind of go over. I have not demoed everything that I talk about. I just want to throw that caveat there too, is that I may talk about something that I haven't yet tried, but it sounds cool. So there's this HR software called Lattice. So deploying agents that sit in meetings, detect disengagement, and help managers prepare tough decisions, all under supervision. That's cool, because we all been to these meetings where we've been in it, but maybe we can't remember. We're taking notes at the same time. And on the other hand, maybe we are trying to listen in and engage. And yes, we have note-taking apps. We have now AI that can detect like who said what, who committed to what, action items. But I think this kind of goes a little bit further, and I want to look at it a little bit more. So detect disengagement and help managers prep tough decisions. So this is a two-step process. Not only will it recap the meeting, but now it's smart enough to say, hey, this might be something that you need to follow up with as a manager, and here are all of the talking points you can use in the next meeting if something has been unresolved. So this is definitely an agentic process where it's not just one task, but it's a series of tasks. And then the AI is making the determination, hey, based on this output, this is the next step. And of course, it says all under supervision. So you would technically supervise the process. You wouldn't have a tough discussion just based on what an AI told you. That's where the human in the loop comes in. And then Salesforce says over 60% of inquiries are handled by agents, but again, with escalation processes in place. So again, if you have a chat bot, if you have some sort of thing that interfaces with people, you also need to have a way for the person to speak to another person eventually, right? Maybe it's an escalation. Maybe if they want to skip all of the um, robots and then talk to a human, there needs to be pathways to do that. So real agents exist, but always with one eye on human approval, that human in the loop. But I really think that HR software is really cool. So I want to go check that out too. Let's see, what else could you do with agentic processes? So let's say if you're a law partner, you can have an intake agent that routes pre-scores and files, but only after you've cleaned up your CRM and intake docs, because the process is only as good as the information that you feed into it. So I'm not a lawyer, but I know that there is a lot of paperwork and a lot of processes that go into the day-to-day. So if there's anything that can be automated there, it should be. Um, if you're a studio owner, you can have a client brief an agent. You can have a client brief agent that captures branded answers, organized in brand boards, but only if your onboarding process is built and standardized, right? So let's say you have somebody that you're designing for, whether you're doing a graphic design project, a web design project, or even if you're just painting or redecorating someone's house, right? Maybe they have answered a couple of questions. Maybe part of your onboarding is now, instead of that 1 hour meeting with you to kind of understand what they want, you can create an agent to say, all right, this agent's going to help onboard you, get all of the information that I need to intake the information, and then maybe it spits out a proof of concept. But you also need to understand, all right, well, what are the things that you need specifically for your business? What kind of communication, what experience do you want to give them? And then what decisions do you want the AI to make on behalf? And at what point do you want that human to intervene? And here is another agentic example. So let's say you are an agency owner and you just build a bunch of proposals, right? That auto builds into statement of work. So this is really important. And I think that this is something that I've been asked to automate before, like quotes and invoices and things like that. I think anything involving money does need a special, like a special, what's the word, oversight and care when building, because you don't want to give somebody the wrong amount. You want to make sure that you're minimizing those mistakes, because those mistakes can be costly in terms of user experience. But I will say that if you're constantly writing proposals, pricing things out, and if this is taking a lot of your time, and you have a central hub and a database and a repository of prices, of services, of things you've done in the past, level of efforts, and all of that stuff, you can use a good reasoning model to understand what is being asked and then generate something. And then at the end of it, before it goes to the customer, of course, a human should look at it. I'm always of the opinion that, yes, even if it's just for a brief moment, a human should always be in the loop. So just in closing, yes, you may hear the word agent being thrown around a lot, but don't be discouraged. Don't be thrown off by it. It's really something that you can make analogous to just a new staff member or just a business bestie, right? You don't need to be a tech person. You don't need to be a programmer. You can literally set these things up yourself or with a small team. Or if you need a fast track to getting support, this is where the Automation Insight session comes in. It's a free 30-minute session with me, moi, and we go over what's working, what's not working, what you've tried before, what you want to try, and how I can best support you, right? We talk about your tech stack, your processes, your team, your customers, your mission, your goals, your business, everything. And then at the end of it, we can come up with a plan on getting the result that you want. So with that, that's all I got to say about that. If you liked this content, I encourage you to share because sharing is caring. And yeah, that's it. Video's over and I will see you next time. Bye.